Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to learn a little bit about angles and angle relationships. So looking at the screen there, an angle is formed by two rays with a common endpoint. That common endpoint, or the corner of the angle, we call the vertex. So if we're looking at this angle, we could call this angle 1 because it's labeled as 1, or we can call it angle ABC. Sometimes we name an angle with 3 points. The outer point angle is like that crooked L, A, B, C. An outer point to the vertex to another outer point. And when I label this angle ABC, B is the vertex, so B has to be in the center. I could have also called this angle CBA. Now that's important if I had another line extended out here, if I had a ray going this way. I can't just call this angle B, because B could be this angle, or even this angle. So naming it by 3 points, it helps clarify what angle we're talking about. And in this case, it's this angle right in here. Types of angles that I'm sure you know. A right angle is an angle that is exactly 90 degrees. It's indicated by that little box in the corner most of the time. If you see that box, you know it immediately it's 90 degrees. An acute angle would be less than 90 degrees. An obtuse angle is greater than 90 degrees, but less than 180 degrees. An angle that is 180 degrees, the bottom one here, a straight angle. It forms a straight line, but there is an angle there. If I had a point here, we could show that that angle is 180 degrees. 4 angles that you should already know. So now let's look at angle relationships. That's our point today. We want to look at what an adjacent angle is and a vertical angle. So in the first one here, an adjacent angles have a common vertex. So if we're looking at angle 2 and 3, they share that vertex right there. Angle 2 and 3 are adjacent. They are formed by intersecting lines, and they are complementary in this case. So angle 2 and 3, they share this common side. They are right next to each other. The word adjacent means right next to each other. So if I'm making those little loops that indicate the angle, I can see that that loop connects there. The next type is vertical angle. So when I have a pair of intersecting lines like I have down here, it forms 4 angles. The angles that are opposite each other, like angle 1 and angle 3, they're called vertical angles. Vertical angles would also be congruent, meaning they're the same measure. They share the same vertex, but they share no other common sides. They are opposite each other. Angle 2 and 4 would also be vertical, and angle 2 and 4 would be equal to each other as well. So again, here it is, adjacent angles and vertical angles. Adjacent angles, they share a common side and have the same vertex. In the example, angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent. They're right next to each other. 2 and 4 are not, because they do not share a common side. But there are other adjacent angles there as well. Vertical angles over on the right are formed by those intersecting lines, and they are opposite each other. Angle 1 and 3 would be an example of vertical angles. 2 and 4 would also be vertical to each other. So let's take a look here at an example. How do I name these when I have a figure as such on the right? Name a pair of adjacent angles. Well, the first thing to do is name one angle. So I see an angle right here. And that angle, if I start from an outer point to the inner point to an outer point, that would be angle FBA. And I have to name an angle that's adjacent to it. So this would give me one pair of adjacent angles. So what's right next to it? Well, I'm going to pick this side and this angle. That angle's right next to it. And that is angle ABC. Those are adjacent angles. That's one pair. All right, that's a pair. There's plenty of other ones in there as well. Part 2, though, it says name a pair of vertical angles. So vertical angles are across from each other. So you have to find a pair of intersecting lines. So here's a line, Here's a line that intersect with each other. This line, BE, does not intersect with the other ones and form 4 pairs of angles. So I'm going to look at my angles again. Here's an angle here, and across the vertex, right here, the opposite angle is right there. So again, I'm going to start with angle FBA, and the one that's vertical to it is the one across from it, and that's DBC, or CBD. I'm going to go angle DBC. Those are vertical each other, across from each other. They don't share a common side, but they're vertical. All right, so here we have a pair of angles. They are either adjacent or vertical. Well, they don't share a common side, and they are opposite each other. They're across that vertex from each other, so I'm going to write down that they are vertical. We also know that vertical angles are equal to each other. The second part of this says, find the value of x by writing and solving an equation. Well, the equation would be very simple here. I know one angle equals the other, so 70 equals x. Nothing to solve there. I know that x now is 70, but that's your equation for that. All right, let's look at another one here. Are these angles? And the angles that I'm looking at, there's an angle here, and there's an angle here. They share that vertex, but they also share a common side. So if we remember our definitions for adjacent and vertical, adjacent angles share the common side. So these are adjacent, so we're going to write that first. Adjacent. And then it says, then find the value of x by writing and solving an equation. Well, they are adjacent, and I do know if I put them together, they form this angle. And that angle there is a right angle. And what do I know about right angles? Right angles are equal to 90 degrees. So I know 90 degrees equals the 31 degree angle, 31, plus this second angle of x plus 4. There's my equation. Now I have to simplify my equation, so I get 90 equals, and I can combine my constants, my whole numbers, 31 and 4. Add those together, that's 35 plus x. I have to get rid of the 35, so I can subtract 35 from both sides, subtract 35 from both sides, and what I end up with is x equals 55. X equals 55 is your answer to that.